All right, we are live. Let me just share this link. Turn my sound off. All right. Welcome to whoever just joined. We'll get started in about 4 minutes at 4 p.m. Central. Hopefully everyone is having a good weekend, had a good weekend. I guess it's sort of the end. What are weekends anymore anyway? It's been beautiful here today in upstate Canadian border of New York, even though it snowed a few days ago. It's finally nice here. We'll just wait a few more minutes to see if anyone else wants to join, and then we'll get started. If you're on now or you're watching on the replay, remember in Restorative, we use a bunch of props. So today I have a blanket to cover up with. I've got some pillows. I have my blanket folded up to make a bolster. And if you have a real bolster and real blocks and kind of more traditional yoga props, feel free to use those. And if you're like me and you left quickly to quarantine and forgot to pack all of your things, you will be just fine using things from home as props. Oh, I have my book too. I'm using this as a block. It's been about 2 months of doing yoga with these makeshift props, and I'm getting used to them. I finally feel like I can make them work in the way that I want to, and it's been a journey, guys. It's been a journey. All right, we have about 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. Welcome to whoever just joined. We'll wait another minute before we get started. Beautiful. All right, well, let's get started. Today, we'll be going through a restorative sequence, so make sure you're dressed in some comfy clothes. You've got all of your props, most importantly, a blanket, because your body will start to cool down. Also, I have some pillows here. I have a rolled up, kind of more dense blanket that I'm using as a makeshift bolster, and then a book, my Harry Potter 5, as a block prop. We're going to start today with a little bit of grounding. Then we will move through to some gentle movement, just enough to get the body a little bit warm to get into our restorative postures, which will last about 3 to 5 minutes each. So restorative is a little bit of a slower practice, a time for us to find full relaxation. So give yourself some time. Give yourself permission to relax, permission here to fully let go. So let's get started. Find a comfortable seat on your mat, and you can use a little cushion or a folded blanket to lift your hips up. And start to really ground yourself, stack your bones, align your head over your heart over your hips. Let the hands fall, palms down on the knees if you feel the need to feel a little more grounded today, or palms up on the knees if you feel like you need to receive a little more energy. Let your eyes fall to a soft gaze at the floor in front of you, or flutter all the way closed. Take a moment here to do a scan of the whole body, starting from the crown of the head and moving all the way through to the tips of the toes. Just checking in with where you are today, right now. Are you feeling any different than you felt yesterday or the last time you came to your mat? Maybe yes, maybe no. Are there any points of tension, areas in the body that might need a little extra love today? Once you've finished the scan of your body, start to bring your attention to the breath, the rise and the fall of the belly with every inhale and every exhale. And we'll start by just observing that breath. No need to manipulate it or make any kind of changes. Just observing where it's at before we do anything to alter it. How deep are your inhales? How long are your exhales? Soften your eyebrows. Release the jaw. Let the shoulders melt down at your sides. And release any tension you're holding in your abs. Move the thought back to the breath. Deepening your inhales and exhales to fully fill the belly and drop the diaphragm with every inhale. With every exhale, bringing the belly button all the way back to the spine to fully exhale all of your breath. Inhale, fill the belly, drop the diaphragm, and exhale everything out with your deepest breaths you've taken so far. On your next inhale, fully fill the belly and drop the diaphragm. And instead of exhaling, breathe in even more to expand the rib cage out to the side. And then let the rib cage collapse and bring the belly button back to the spine in this two-part inhale and two-part exhale. So we'll continue that two-part breath for the next few cycles of breath, starting by fully inhaling to fill the belly and drop the diaphragm. Then inhale up through the ribs, expanding them to the sides. Exhale, collapse the ribs and collapse the belly. You can put your fingertips on your ribs if it makes you feel more connected. Feeling that expansion and contraction. On your next inhale, we'll start with the same two-part breath. Inhale to fully expand the belly and drop the diaphragm. Then move up to expand the ribs. And then inhale even more to expand all the way up to the clavicle. Sternum lifting slightly. Then we'll exhale from the top. Ribs collapse all the way down to the belly. Continuing this three-part breath for the next few cycles of breath. So we'll inhale to fill the belly, drop the diaphragm. Rib cage expands out to the side, all the way up to the clavicle. Exhale from the top. Collapse the ribs and the belly all the way down. If it feels right, bring your fingertips up to touch the clavicle to feel the connection as we find that third part of the breath. Breathing all the way up. On your next inhale, we'll continue that three-part breath, starting by filling the belly, dropping the diaphragm. Rib cage expands to the side and then all the way up to the clavicle, and then hold here for just a moment before collapsing from the top. Rib cage collapses all the way down to the belly. So it'll be a three-part breath. Inhale, belly, ribs, clavicle, hold. Exhale from the clavicle, ribs collapse all the way down to the diaphragm. So we'll continue for the next few cycles of breath with that three-part breath holding at the top. Wherever you are in your breath, exhale all your air out. Keep your eyes closed and find a regular breath pattern. And just take a moment here to check in with yourself. Are you feeling any different than you felt when you first sat down today? Maybe yes, maybe no. It doesn't really matter. It's just important to check in with how you're feeling in this moment. Gently let your eyes flutter open. Beautiful. We're done with our grounding, and let's move to some gentle movement to get ourselves ready to find these restorative positions. So let's start out. Inhale, lift the arms all the way up. Exhale, release down to your sides. Let your shoulder blades come in and down. Inhale up. And exhale, release to the ground. Arms finding full extensions, reaching out to either side. One last time. Inhale up. This time, grab the left wrist with the right hand. We'll pull the wrist up and across. Maybe turn the sternum slightly up toward the ceiling and letting your gaze follow in the same direction. And come back into center. We'll change wrists. Left wrist grabs right wrist. Inhale, pull up. And pull across. Again, if it feels right. Sternum turns slightly up toward the ceiling. Gaze lifts up. And coming back to center, let your arms flow all the way back down. Beautiful. Let's find some circles with the rib cage here. So we'll start by bringing the ribs all the way to the left. Bring the ribs all the way forward, all the way to the right, and then all the way to the back, letting your body concave. And then let's find some circles there, making that more fluid motion. While you're finding this fluid motion here and warming up the body, getting connected with it, you can play around. Maybe lead these circles with your hips and see what it feels like to have your hips be the leading point. Maybe make the ribs the leading point. Maybe make your head the leading point. This is your time to kind of find your own organic movement. Find what feels right for you. Let's switch to the other side, whatever that means. Or if you just like doing it the regular way, throw that away. And no, you can always do that with anything I say. If there's something that feels more comfortable to you or something that feels more organic than what I'm doing or saying, I'm just your guide. I'm just here to lead you through it. Take or leave whatever I say. I can't even see you guys now that I'm not in the studio, so this is your time. Get creative. And we'll meet back in the center. Beautiful. Let's move to a tabletop position. If you've taken a cushion or anything under your hips, go ahead and move that to the side. And we will start with some traditional cat-cows. So we'll start, I'm so excited. I've been working through a wrist injury. This is the first day I've been able to put pressure on my wrist. Woo, progress. So wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. And let's start off with just a traditional cat-cow. So we'll start with cow. Inhale, drop the belly, let the chest shine forward. Gaze straight out in front of you, hip points come back and up. On your next exhale, we'll curl through the spine, tuck the tailbone, chin to chest. Continue these on your own, finding your own little flow here. Inhaling, dropping the belly for cow. Exhaling, curling through the spine for cat. We're still just waking the body up here. Getting it ready to really relax in the restorative portion. And you can start to get creative with your cat-cow. Maybe come side to side here. Finding these sideways circles. Make sure if you go one way, you go the other. Maybe dropping the hips down to the heels, coming through the forearms, through baby cobra. Maybe you want to thread the needle here, lifting one arm, bringing it through. Take your time here. I'm going to give you a moment to just really play with this. If there's a different variation that you know that you'd like to take advantage of here and use, go ahead. This is your practice. Listen to your body. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Your body knows way more than I know, so it's your most powerful guide. If you've taken anything on one side, make sure you even it out. There's nothing worse than feeling unbalanced. Beautiful. So let's all meet back in a neutral tabletop. And let's move into puppy pose. Bring your elbows, come to your forearms, and bring your elbows where your wrists were. Lift your hip points back and up and let your chest fall down toward the mat. If it feels good, bring the forehead to the mat. Option here to find some engagement in your arms. Come up onto your fingers, doming the center of the palms and activating those forearms. Really let the chest drop to the floor. Feel your shoulders opening up. Hip points moving back and up. You can let the hips sway side to side if it feels good. If it doesn't feel good, throw it away. Beautiful. And let's come back. We'll find our neutral tabletop again. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Tuck your toes under, and we're going to move really slowly into a downward facing dog. So follow me. Bring your hips all the way back to your heels. Press into your fingers and slowly bring your hips back and up. See just how slow you can do it. Maybe rock the hips side to side on the way up. Beautiful. Then let's pedal those dogs out. Bend one knee and the other. You can lift the right leg and stack the hips. Maybe make some circles. And take it on the other side. Find what you need in this moment to just open up. Go ahead, bend both knees, roll onto the balls of your feet, lift the hip points back and up, and then let the heels melt back to the earth. Look toward your hands and walk your feet behind your wrists. Take a rag doll here, reach for opposite elbows. You can have a slight bend in the knees. Shake your head yes. Shake your head no. Shake your head maybe. Really let it all go here. Let your arms drop to the ground. Slide your palms underneath your feet. So the backs of your hands should be on the floor, and the balls of your feet should be resting in your palms. Maybe your toes skimming your wrists. Find some length in the spine here. Knees can be bent as generously as you would like. Maybe bend one knee, then the other. Beautiful. You can slide the hands out. Slightly bend the knees and we'll roll all the way up to a standing position. Inhale, lift your arms all the way up to the ceiling. And exhale, we'll come all the way back down. Bring the hands through prayer. You can even bring the hands back behind the glutes. Give yourself a little massage. Run the hands up and down the backs of the legs. Getting ready for this really gentle practice. So plant your hands and we'll step back into a high plank for just a moment and then drop the knees. So that was our little warm up, and let's get started with our first restorative posture. So for our first restorative posture, we're going to take a supported child's pose. So for supported child's pose, we're going to start off sitting with the legs the way you would have a child's pose. So bring your big toes to touch and spread your knees to the outside of the mat. And you can sit your heels all the way back down, or your hips all the way back down and your heels rather, to set up here. And as we move forward, we're going to stack our props. So make sure you've got some props. If you don't have any props at all, that's okay, but I would advise having at least a few pillows and a blanket. So you'll stack your props up so that The idea is you want to be able to lie forward into your child's pose with a little bit of a lift so you can fully relax here. So how I like to do it is stack my pillows here, and then I have my bolster or my rolled up blanket, and I make a little bit of a ramp for myself, where the ramp starts kind of mid thigh. I advise you to take time to set up, and then try laying down and seeing how comfortable you are. You can put your cheek to one side, and I'll tell you when we're halfway through. But make sure if it doesn't feel good or if this isn't a pose you can't hold for 3 or 4 minutes, to really set yourself up, sit back up and change it. It's not about getting it right the first time or being perfect. It's about finding something that you can hold and feel comfortable and relax into. And as always, feel free to cover up with your blanket. So let's all release into this position here. Arms can come to the sides of your pillows or props. And release your eyebrows and your jaw. Let your shoulders melt down toward the earth, hugging your props. Release any tension you feel here in the fingers or the toes. And if you've taken the cheek to one side, we're about halfway through. So go ahead and turn the cheek to face the opposite direction. In our more active yoga practices, we're constantly doing something. We're focused on engaging more muscles, focusing on our breath. And here in restorative, we have the opposite challenge. Because sometimes it can be even harder to say, how little can I do? How fully can I release into this one position for an extended period of time? Just how little work can I do? Slowly taking your time, use the strength of your hands to lift yourself back up. Remember here, there's no rush. You'll get there when you get there. We're going to move into our next position. And this is going to be a supported wide-legged, seated wide-legged forward fold. So find a comfortable seated position with your legs out to either side. I like to pop a prop underneath my hips. I'm going to use my book or my block here to lift your hips. Sometimes it can make it more comfortable if you've got a tight lower back or tight hamstrings to get comfortable in this position for an extended period. From here, take your props and pile them up in front of you. You want to be in a position where you can lay forward and fully relax. So you don't want to feel like you're working or like it shouldn't be a challenge to hold this pose for a long period. So make sure you have your props stacked in the right position to where you can feel fully comfortable. And if there's no position in a wide-legged forward fold, feel free to take Baddha Konasana or bring the soles of your feet together and take a forward fold from there. Remember, you can always cover up with your blanket if that feels good. And let's get started with this position. Release the urge here to engage the legs. Release the urge to pull yourself closer to the ground. Gravity will pull you closer. Don't you worry. It'll do it in its own time. But sometimes we feel we want to get there quicker than our bodies are ready to. You feel your mind racing or starting to wander at all. Know that you can always go back to the breath. The breath will always be there for you. Bring your focus to the rise and the fall of the belly with every inhale and every exhale. Sometimes it helps to count the inhales and the exhales. We're not here for much longer. So just check in with yourself. See if there's one more thing you can let go of here. Maybe it's a muscle, maybe it's the shoulders or the jaw. Maybe it's a thought, a to-do list. Whatever it is, just let it melt away as we finish the remainder of this pose. Using the strength of your hands, roll yourself back up to a seated position and slowly come back out of this position. So take your time. Remember, we're in no rush. There's nowhere you have to be except right here. And each pose we're in for a hot second. So if it takes you a little longer to get there, it takes you a little longer to get there. We're going to move into a twist. So for the twist, I like to have my props kind of the same as I had in the supported child's pose. So the two pillows are stacked, and then you make a little ramp with your other prop. Maybe it's a bolster. If there's a different variation of this that feels more comfortable to you, go ahead and take that. So from here, I'm going to start the twist on my left side. So you can start on either side. We'll hit both sides. So sit here on one hip. So you're kind of sitting on that left thigh, and it's flush up against your props. You can have the right leg snuggled in on top, kind of like when you're in kindergarten and you sit in a circle and they make you sit like this. From here, find length in the spine. We'll lift the crown of the head up toward the ceiling. Inhale here, and exhale, twist toward your props. Beautiful. Inhale, inhale, no. Inhale, lift here, and exhale, drape the body over top of your props. Beautiful. If you want to cover up in your blanket, that's always an option for you. And take your time. Make this a comfortable setup for yourself. So really twisting and then draping the body over those props. Make sure you check in with yourself. Has tension crept up into your jaw, into the eyebrows? Sometimes we release these things at the beginning of class. And then as we move to release other things, the tension creeps back into the places they were originally. Release anything in the inner thighs, any gripping. Know that everything that needs to be done has already been done. There's no need to do any work here. The ground is there to support you. Your props are there to support you. My voice is here to guide you. All you have to do is surrender to the position and melt into your mat. We're not here for much longer. So see if there's just one more thing here you can let go of. And gently using the strength of your hands, start to push yourself back up to a comfortable seated position. We're going to keep the props exactly where they are, and we're going to move into a gentle back bend. So you can have your legs, we've got two options here, in a Supta Baddha Konasana position. So the soles of the feet will be together, and you'll lean back, or you can have your legs straight out. If you've got some extra pillows, feel free to always slide those underneath your knees, whether you've taken the bent knee position or the straight leg position, if that feels good. And then we'll move into a Supta Baddha Konasana, or an easy back bend here. So you'll fall all the way back down, let your head rest on your props, and your arms can open up to the sides here. So if you want to cover up with the blanket, get cozy if your body's starting to cool down, make sure you bring that down with you. If I were in the room with you, I promise I would be bringing you blankets and tucking you in, but unfortunately we don't have that. So make sure you bring your blankets down to tuck yourself in. Palms lifted up toward the ceiling. Release any tension in the shoulders as your chest opens. Resist the urge to grip or engage your abs or your inner thighs. We're not here for much longer. So just check in with yourself. Is there one more thing you can let go of? Again, maybe it's the same thing, something that's crept back up. Maybe there's something new. Whatever it is, just let it go. You don't need it here. The only thing you need here is yourself. And that's enough. And feel free to come out of this however you'd like, but I like to start by closing my legs up, bringing my knees together using my hands on the outsides of each thigh, and then rolling over to one side, slowly pushing myself back up to a seated position. So we're going to go ahead and take that same twisting position, but on the other side. So we'll start off. If you did what I did, then you started on the left side, but feel free to do just the opposite side that you did. So snuggle that thigh, that opposite thigh that you used before, straight up against your props on the ground. And you can let that the right one or whatever the other one was for you on top there. We'll start by facing straight out toward your knees. Inhale, find length in the spine. And we exhale, we'll twist by bringing the upper body toward the props. From here, remember to bring your blanket down with you if you'd like to. We'll inhale and find length, and exhale, drape the body down over your props. Take your time getting there. Take your time finding a comfortable variation of this. And once you get there, just fully relax, fully surrender to the pose. You can check in with yourself and see, does this side feel any different than the other side? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Just check in. Make sure you're not gripping in the inner thighs or the abdominals, or your shoulders fully relaxed. If not, release them down. Has any tension creeped up in your jaw or your temples? Let it all go. Gently using the strength of your hands, press yourself back up to a seated position. So go ahead, move all of your props out of the way. And the only one I want you to keep, we're not going to use it at first, but we're going to incorporate it into the prop. We'll always keep your blanket close. Is going to be your block or your book. You can also use a firm pillow here. A firm pillow here or anything, as long as you want it to be something stable. You don't want anything that might move or be too squishy, because then you might hurt yourself. So we're going to start just by neutralizing a little bit. So we're lay all the way down on the back, getting there however you'd like. Let's find a little gentle movement before we get into this one. So you can rock the hips, rock the legs side to side. And let's take one happy baby here. So stamp the soles of the feet on the ceiling. You can reach for the backs of your thighs, the ankles, or the inner or outer edges of the feet here. And just take whatever movement feels good, just to re-neutralize after we did that twist. You can maybe bend one leg, then the other if it feels good. Maybe bring the soles of the feet together. Rock back and forth. Beautiful. So for this next pose, we're going to take a supported bridge. So go ahead, drop your feet to be planted right on the mat, and you can crawl the heels as close as you can get them to the hips. Snuggle the shoulder blades. Remember to keep that book or that prop on hand. Snuggle the shoulder blades underneath the chest, just slightly, and then we'll drop weight into the heels to lift the hips up into the air and slide your prop right under the sacrum, or the bottom of the spine. And from here, really try to find some relaxation. Maybe you need to pull your feet a little bit further apart to let your knees collapse in together. If your legs are having a hard time staying up without holding in the inner thighs, relax the chest, relax the abs. If you want to feel your hips a little bit higher, feel free to slide another prop in between your hips and the ground. This pose can be a challenge to find the restorative nature of. Sometimes there's the urge to make it active, to keep the heels pressed into the ground, to activate the abs. And I challenge you not to do that. I challenge you to fully relax and reap the benefits of this restorative version of the pose. Remember, if your mind is wandering, you can always bring it back to the breath. Not necessarily manipulating the breath at all, but just taking note of the lengths of your inhales and your exhales. The sensations you feel as air enters and leaves the system. We're not here for much longer. So see if there's just one more thing you can let go. One more thing you can surrender. And slowly start to drop weight back into the heels as the hips float up. You can slide your prop out of the way. Let the knees drop from side to side to release that lower back. And we're going to move into our final Shavasana. Two options here. We can take a traditional supported final Shavasana. Find pillows under each of the knees. Let the legs come out in front, feet splayed open, and lay all the way back down on the earth. Or you can take a legs up the wall here. So you'll scoot your hips all the way close to the wall and let your legs come up straight up the wall. I guess like the name, legs up the wall. Either way, whichever one you've taken, make sure you find a comfortable position. Feel free to cover up in a blanket. Whether you've taken legs up the wall, you can kind of tuck your feet under and pull it up or not. Palms lay at your sides, chest falls open. From here, relax the eyebrows, relax the jaw. Dissipate any tension in the fingers or the toes. Release any urge to engage the inner thighs, the abdominals. Your face is soft. We work so hard in our lives, in our personal practices, whether you have a more active workout routine or you have a more active asana, vinyasa yoga practice. And now's the time to do nothing, to see just how little work you can do as we fully surrender to this final Shavasana. Final Shavasana is yours for as long as you'd like it. So if you're not quite ready to be guided out yet, feel free to ignore me or close your laptop or your phone and enjoy it for as long as you'd like. If you're ready to be guided out, start to find some gentle movement in the fingers and the toes. Make small circles on the ceiling with your nose. And find circles in the wrists and the ankles. And drop the head from side to side. And whenever you feel ready, sweep your arms up overhead, reaching arms and legs, or just arms in opposite, if you're in legs up the wall in opposite directions. Feel a full body stretch. If you've taken legs up the wall, go ahead, let your knees collapse into your chest. Let's all roll over to the right or left side in fetal position, using that bicep as a pillow. Our final Shavasana represents the death of our practice. Here in fetal pose, we mark the new life that we bring with us out into the world. Using the strength of your hands, press yourself up into a comfortable seated position, taking your time. We're still in no rush. So know where you have to be. Bring the hands together at palm center, at heart center, palms together at heart center. The love, the light, the teacher, and the student in me honors the love, the light, the teacher, and the student in every one of you. Bring your thumbs to third eye center and bow forward. Namaste. Well, thank you. Thank you everyone who joined here live or whoever's watching it back on the replay. I really appreciate you being here and practicing with me. And I'm so grateful to have you, not in the room, but, in the room. Have a great rest of your Sunday, everybody, and we will see you next weekend. And by we, I mean I.